voted to remain. But when I found out that the decision is actually is to leave, that came quite a shock. Because I was surprised that that people would vote to leave. Why would you want to leave a well-knit European? So now, if we leave EU, we will cause a big effect because a lot of people will have lot of uncertainty about the future, about investments, about life in generally. People just not sure what's gonna happen. So, like for example, you get a lot of Europeans people that come to the UK and work. Now they feel like their future is not certain, so they probably decide to leave and go back home. So, where with the local economy here at Info, we recruit our staff. It doesn't matter where they're from. Um, so we have a lot of people that's from Europe that work here for us. So if they decided to leave, we will be have problem in our business because it's going to be hard for us to find staff.
I voted to. I've immigrated to the UK in 1996. I got married, had two children. It took me 14 years for me to apply for a British passport. The only reason I applied for a British passport is one day I was coming back from New York. I had gone to New York to fight, and on my way back, the immigration officer was very rude to me. I had two passports, one that had my visa to stay in the UK, and a new one that I had Brazilian passport that I had recently applied because my old passport was just expired. So I had to present him the two passports. He went through all the stamps until he found 1996, the date that I entered the UK. Then he told me in a really bad Portuguese, he spoke in Portuguese to me, and he said something like that. Você não tinha nenhuma intenção de sair do país quando você chegou aqui. Tinha. The translation for that is you had no intentions of leaving the UK when you first entered here. He was being very rude to me. And my answer to him, I looked at him and I said, can you please speak in English because your Portuguese is really bad and I can't understand. This is what I told him. I wanted him to say that in English. He stamped my passport, he sent me in. I was absolutely fuming because, I think some people come here and they have no intention of leaving. It wasn't my case. I genuinely got married. I had two beautiful children with my wife. I'm still married to her. We've been married 22 years. And I didn't feel the need I had to apply for passport until that moment. I applied for passport. I did all the tests. I had to do a written test, and I become British citizen. After I become British citizen, I apply for a British passport, and I can vote. Brexit was the very first time that I voted in the UK, and I must be brutally honest. I voted um, leave. Yes, I didn't vote. I wanted to leave. You know, I voted leave because my whole family, my English family, voted leave. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my wife voted, and I thought that I needed to be with my family for this, and that was my reason. I don't understand much about politics. I, to be honest, I don't know much about politics, but they do. So they're older than me, they're wiser, and I think in life I should be siding with my elders, people that are older than me and are looking after me. That this family accepted me, and the reason I live here in the UK now is because of my wife. I've got a lot of loyalty to my family, and they said leave, so I went with them.
For me, Brexit when the initial election happened, it was sort of very disappointing because having had having studied economics and finance in the past, unfortunately, it was very clear that a lot of people do not have a clue what they were voting for. They do not have an understanding that by coming out of Europe, you will not reduce the number of immigrants from the Far East. You will not reduce the number of immigrants from Africa, uh, which many people unfortunately thought would be the case because you are going to reduce number of immigrants. Okay, so yes, you will reduce the number of nurses looking after you. You will reduce the number of cleaners you've got here to keep the hospitals clean, keep the schools clean. The bus service relies on um, drivers from Eastern Europe. You will reduce the number of those. And I don't believe many people that would not even consider doing those types of jobs, actually had any understanding that that's really what they are voting for. You often had, we have to comply with rules that Europe says, and unelected officials. Well, no, there is European Parliament, which people have the um, option to vote for people to be so for Britain to be represented in Europe. I came from another European country 25 years ago or so, and this is my home now. But I have no say. I wasn't able to vote whether Britain should stay in Europe or not, and it's kind of quite disappointing as to what people have chosen. Obviously, at the moment, as the politics is, we don't know what's going to happen. It may or may not happen. And for me, in general, I think I would prefer if it didn't happen because to me, it makes more sense for Europe to be together.
If he say my opinions, like I think it's good idea to stay, but why? I live here for 45 years, so these people come here take my job. So if you say, oh yeah, I, it's nice to go out. Why? Just immigrant people work in this country. English people don't like to work, don't do a hard job. So right. It's quite difficult. So for me, because now I'm a mobile hairdresser, I list a lot of people. It's quite difficult to say what I think exactly. I have to listen to what people say. Yeah. And now that another country and they travel for holidays. When I saw London now, it's quite a little bit messy. Um, People make the country quite a lot of mess. So for me, don't make a difference if they go out. But it's not affecting my business, to be honest to you. So yeah, so if he stay for me, be fine. If he go out for me, be fine. So don't make it not different for me. So what I like to see this country, everything orderly, no mess. I don't like mess. So I come the country is messy. I don't like politician in my country. So I think if people like to stay, like live here, people don't have to make lots of messes. So that's my opinion. I'm sorry.